Hare okay. It's okay. It's on. It's on.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Harinam Sankirtan Ki. You sang very nicely. And you were a very expert microphone stand. And you played Mridanga pretty well. Keep practicing. Yeah. So I'm looking around the room and seeing what I didn't expect to see. What I expected to see was a lot of new people and your friends and people that you're introducing Krishna consciousness to. And looking around the room, this seems to be a mix. And so my thought was to do something that I don't normally do. And that, this is what I normally do. And I was thinking to not do that, but just, explain. So that's what I think what I'll do. The request in my meditation before coming here on the way over here is introduction to who is Lord Chaitanya. A little bit about the chanting of the holy name, both kirtan and japa, and the importance of Prabhupada's books. You want to add to that, Liz, or that's fine? They're your guests. Yes, you're good. Those 3 things. You didn't make the script? He did?
It was a collaborative effort.
Okay. Okay. You're a gentleman. You know how to pat, like, it doesn't stick, it goes to other people. That's nice. It's nice. It's a nice quality. Well, I don't know how far back to go because some people are really, really new, but you're all from India. Almost all of you are from India. There's a couple of exceptions, me and Brandon over here. So, but you all know who is Krishna, and he doesn't need an introduction. And then, so we'll do this. After Krishna departed, his manifest pastimes concluded, but of course, he's eternal, just as the soul is eternal. Krishna is eternal. And Krishna began to contemplate. This is an introduction to who is Lord Chaitanya. Krishna began to contemplate. After my departure, shortly after my departure, the next yuga, Kali Yuga, begins. And the scriptures say, and Krishna certainly knows what's in the scripture, and in the age of Kali, things deteriorate very badly, very quickly. And although I spoke Bhagavad Gita in very simple language that even simple people could understand, this is the age of Kali, and who's going to understand? And what to speak of understand in such a way they can live their life accordingly, apply the teachings. What to do? Of course, it's rhetorical because he knows what to do. I could send a representative, but even better to explain how to. But even better is if I personally came, and then I could explain how to. So how to. Mamekam sharanam braja. You know the verse? Sarva dharmam parityaja. Mamekam sharanam braja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha yeshami masuchaha. So even some of the newer people here know the verse. It's because it's a most important verse, from the Sri Sampradaya. It's the most important verse of the whole Bhagavad Gita. Surrender unto me, mam ekam sharanam. So who's going to understand? Let me explain how to. So that's what you'll find in Bhagavad Gita, how to. And then people will not necessarily understand Bhagavad Gita. So Lord Chaitanya, who is Lord Chaitanya? Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself, who came in the mood of a devotee of himself. And he taught how to surrender to Krishna, who is himself. But he didn't do it from himself. It was in the role of a devotee. So Lord Chaitanya appeared for that purpose. And he appeared in Navadvip, which is a very celebrated holy place, sacred city in West Bengal. And according to the teachings of Lord Chaitanya that are found in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are 3 external reasons for his appearance. 1, to establish the Yuga Dharma. What does that mean? Yuga Dharma is the primary means for achieving spiritual perfection for each of the 4 yugas, Satyatreta, Dwarpa, and Kali Yuga, and keeping it really simple. In Satya Yuga, the first of the 4 ages, it's dhyayate, meditation, along with other things, of course, lifestyle that's suited to meditation, but meditation. Then in the second of the 4 ages, it's the process of sacrifice, yajna. And then in the third of the 4 ages, it's Archana, or deity worship. And then Kali Yuga, it's the primary, it's in other ages as well, but primarily the holy name. Harir Nama, Harir Nama, Harir Nama, Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nascheva, 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 Gatiranyata. I mean, I grew up in America and I don't know Sanskrit, but I learned Sanskrit by hearing from my spiritual master again and again. And there's a Sanskrit rule: something is said 3 times, it's absolute. It's emphasis, yes. When you say something 3 times, it's for a point of emphasis. But in Sanskrit, it's a rule. It's like that's it. It's absolute. So nasteva, nasteva, na asti eva. Na is negative. Asti eva, certainly. It's the only. The only means, the only means, the only means. 3 times. Absolute. That's Hare Nama, Harer Nama. Today, at 10:30 this morning, I had an invitation to join a podcast. That was an interesting experience. If somebody here doesn't know what podcast is, ask a friend. They'll know. It's an interview, and it's a one-on-one interview. And one of the questions was, could you give the meaning of the mantra? So 3 words: Harer. So Hare, and then Krishna and Rama. So Lord Chaitanya came. One of the 3 external reasons was to promote this, or establish the primary means for spiritual perfection, the chanting of the holy name. So, and the chanting of the holy name, this Hare Krishna mantra is the mantra of choice. Many other names. He also chanted many other names, but especially this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So what's the meaning? Again, I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, but one of the possible meanings of this word Hare is the vocative of the internal potency of Krishna. And one of the names of the internal potency of Krishna, like Radha, is Hara. And the vocative Hara becomes Hare. Like many of you have been to Vrindavan, and if you haven't been to Vrindavan, may Krishna Radha. In the vocative, it's Radhe. So the vocative of Hara is Hare. This is the podcast this morning at 10:30. So that's the first of the names. We're calling, energy of Krishna. What would you like? Please engage me in the service, because that's what she is and does, and extends her kindness by engaging people in loving service to Krishna, opportunities for loving service. So it's calling her Hare. And then the name, Krishna. Easy podcast. Krishna, Krish means to attract. And Krishna is the name of the person who is the supremely all-attractive source of everything. Krishna. Krishna, all-attractive Krishna. Hare Krishna. And then the third word, Rama. Rama can have different meanings. It can mean Ramachandra. It can mean Balaram. And the literal meaning is reservoir of pleasure. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. So then another question was, is there a reason why? Because, I've been to India and sometimes they reverse the order. Why this order instead of the reverse order? So there's an Upanishad verse that gives this order, this sequence of these 16 syllables. So Lord Chaitanya came to establish the Yuga Dharma. That was one of the 3 reasons. And he did. And it was effective. And it's still effective. This podcast interviewer, I think you know who the lady is. She said her first encounter was in Switzerland. And she was on the streets of Switzerland, and much to her surprise, little old sedate Switzerland, there was a Harinam party going up and down the street. And she was like, "What that? I'd never seen anything like that before." All over the world. But that was some years ago. And then things happened, and she got Bhagavad Gita, and things happened. But for your pleasure, certainly for all the devotees' pleasure, there's a group of devotees, group of ladies in a certain state, I won't say where, in the United States, and they had a plan for this year that they're going to do Harinam in every county in that state. And so far, they've 2/3 complete, and they have 1/3 remaining, and they got a plan how they're going to. So I don't know how many. I didn't ask all those questions, but they have a van. They go in their van. They get out of the van, and in states where people don't know who these Martians are, what planet are they coming from? Dressed differently, and musical instruments, and arms raised, and singing, and joyful, and jubilant, and they probably are distributing some literature and some invitations to some things that people can learn something more about who they are and what they're doing. I'm sure that's there. I encouraged it specifically in a reply. Book distribution, please. So it's going on, and it's how people became the Yuga Dharma. And it's not just humans. Everything that's alive. There's some plants over here. They're alive. Who knows? Maybe there's some little bugs around here and there. Maybe bacteria. Something. And there's soul inside. Where everything there's alive, there's a soul, and that there's spiritual benefit, maybe more to those that have a receiver like a human ear and consciousness, but benefit goes to all living entities just by hearing that sound vibration, because the Yuga Dharma is Krishna. He was present, and now he's present. He's not in the same form, but it's the same presence, the same person. And purification. And like a nice little example, many of you like the Srimad Bhagavatam or stories from the Srimad Bhagavatam. A very nice, very long chapter, very wonderful chapter is Krishna's dancing on the hoods of the Kaliya serpent. Some of you are nodding. It's a nice story. Read it carefully, and you'll appreciate the rasa, or the love, exchange of love that Krishna engages in with everybody and everything, and the wives of Kaliya and the resident of Vrindavan, and the cows and the boys. And it's like they reach levels of ecstasy that normally they don't experience, because Krishna was engaging them and churning their loving propensities in different ways. Even ghastliness. See Krishna in the coils of the Kaliya serpent. That's a rasa, a ghastly rasa. But it's a rasa. It's in a heightened state of love due to circumstance, etc. So Krishna is present in his name, and by his name, one can become purified, like Krishna's dancing on the hoods of the Kaliya serpent. Maybe dancing on the Kaliya serpent-like mind that we have, that something, we don't like something, we don't like someone, we don't like. I can think of a few things I don't like. I won't mention their name either. So those are reasons. When there's dharma shaglani, when there's discrepancy in dharma, I come and make the discrepancy no longer discrepancy. And to protect the devotees, vinashaya triduskatam, to admonish, or worse, the duskritis. So Krishna comes for those reasons. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came for the same reasons, because he's Krishna himself. To restore proper dharma in the age of Kali, where things go down and down. So he comes to restore. And there's a third reason that's really nice, a little esoteric, but it's not too esoteric. That a predecessor Vaishnava, before the birth of Lord Chaitanya, was Advaita Acharya. Without details, Advaita Acharya is very elderly and very exalted, and he had a lot of concern. The age of Kali is moving rapidly. Something is needed to check the rapid degradation of this age. And he considered the best is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. So what did he do? Because he's a learned Vaishnava, he knew from the scripture, the Gautamiya Tantra, there's a very simple way to invoke the intention of the Supreme Lord. So he did it. He sat by the side of the Ganges, and he had a Shalagram Shila and a little Shalagram Shila stand in front of him, and in a loud voice was calling Krishna's name, offering a palmful of Ganges water and some tulsi leaves. Two things. It was more than water. It was Ganges water. It was right by the Ganges. And tulsi leaves. You offer that to the Supreme Lord, just like he says in Bhagavad Gita. Patram pushpam palam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati. So Krishna accepts. We offered with love. He offers such simple things. A flower, a fruit, water. And he accepts. A leaf. So he accepts a tulsi leaf, especially likes tulsi. And Ganges water, and calling for the Supreme Lord to appear. So later, at a later juncture in time, Lord Chaitanya said, I was engaged as Lord Vishnu, lying in mystic slumber in the Shweta-dweep, the white island in the midst of the milk ocean, and I heard your loud calling, so I came. That was the third reason. Three purposes or reasons for Lord Chaitanya's advent. So, in giving the Yuga Dharma, when one takes to the chanting of the holy name, of course, it affects different persons in different ways. But one of there's two basic principles that happen. When you do something that's purifying, you get purified. That means, purified means two things. The coverings become reduced. It's explained very elaborately in Srimad Bhagavatam, which leads into the importance of studying the devotional texts. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, it explains that the spiritual sound vibration has the effect of cleansing unwanted things within the heart. This is a universal realization for almost all devotees that I know. I had no idea there was so much stuff inside my heart until I started cleaning. Like Prabhupada gives this example. Okay. Supposing you go to an abandoned house that hasn't been cleaned in umpteen years, and you start to clean. What happens? Dust all over the place. It really, it's awful. But keep cleaning, keep cleaning, keep cleaning, keep cleaning. And eventually the dust stops and it becomes clean. Similarly, the heart, accumulated for years together, lifetimes together. He's got hand signals going. You're not so comfortable, I can tell.
That's why I was asking.
Yes, yeah, he wants to go upstairs.
Yeah.
If you want to go upstairs, it's completely okay. We'll see you later. In time for Prashadam. He's your son. I could tell, the body language made it very clear what was going on. It's okay. It's okay. Little boy. So cleansing, sound, spiritual sound. There's all kinds of sound, and spiritual sound has the effect of vidhunoti surit satam. It cleanses the heart, surit, very clean. And when the second, I said two things: the cleansing, and then the second is awakening. There's something deep inside each of us that's gone to sleep. More or less, in some cases more, in some cases less, but who we really are and who the source of everything is, Bhagavan, and our relationship between us, ourselves, and Bhagavan, and all the other living entities, not just human beings, but all the other living entities have an eternal relation with the Supreme that's covered and therefore forgotten. We went to sleep, deep sleep, susupti, deep sleep. And then awakening when someone's asleep. I mean, you can do different things, but one of the ways is to make a sound, like an alarm clock, or call their name, or something. But through sound is spiritual sound particularly is a way to awaken the spiritual connection between the self and the Supreme. And that's the effect of this Yuga Dharma, regardless of one's sophistication of knowing things. It's not dependent upon how smart you are, or how many years of college you've completed, or something. One can be one can be educated, one can be superlatively educated. It's not one's ineligible and the other is, eligible. It's not based upon academic. It's based upon that you're a spirit soul, and as a spirit soul, full awakening of consciousness can take place. It's possible. And that's the intention behind any dharma for any age, however it's done, whoever is participating. And then there's according to Chaitanya Charitamrita, I've said this 3 times. Maybe if you're newer, what's that? It's interesting sounding. What is it? It's a biography, one of multiple biographies. And, if you have it on your bookshelf, it's like that. Several volumes, beginning, middle, and end, Adi Lila, Madhya Lila, and Antya Lila, of the life and the teachings and activities of Lord Chaitanya. So in this Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's an explanation of the outer limits, and Antya Lila in particular. At the end, Lord Chaitanya experienced and exhibited a state of love for Krishna that was like the love that Radha has for Krishna. Now, if I was going to show one slide, I thought about it on the way over here. One slide, it shows a picture of Lord Chaitanya, and it's an interesting graphic. The picture starts to shift, and the image then becomes Radharani. And then it shifts back, Lord Chaitanya. And then it shifts back, Radharani. Gradually shifting. The technology. So it's nice. And this is the internal reason, along with the external reason, Krishna wanted people to understand his message of Bhagavad Gita, how to surrender unto him. As a second internal reason, the internal reason is he very much wanted to experience that love that Radha has for him. It's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. In love, it takes two. It takes two to tango. There's the abode of love and the object of love. It's like grammar, subject, object. So that there's subject, the abode of love, and then there's the object of love. So it's described like this. Krishna considered, I'm the personality of Godhead, I can do whatever I like. I want to experience the love of Radha. And he couldn't. Wait a minute, there's nothing I can't do. There's this one thing I can't do? What's that one thing? I have to become the subject, observing the abode, the object of love. And then he sorted it out. I'll accept the mood of Radha and the complexion of Radha, and I'll engage in service to Krishna. Although I'm Krishna, so the devotee is the abode of love, and then there's the object of love. So he demonstrated. This is the two tied together. How to take the teaching of Bhagavad Gita, surrender unto me, and exhibit it. So he surrendered to Krishna by being a devotee of Krishna, but not just a devotee. There's another nice verse. It's a really beautiful verse. I'll just begin. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikriti Ladini Shakti Asmat Ekatmanav Apibu Vipura Deha Beda Gatautau. So Eka Atmanav Api. Although the entity is one, for purposes of pastime, two forms. Ekatmanav Apibu Pura Deha Beda. Two forms. Deha, Beda. Two forms. Radha Krishna. That's the first half of that verse. The second half of the verse is, however, those two forms became one in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Two forms became one. And that's, the topic. Who is Lord Chaitanya? It's esoteric, but is there something that Krishna can't do? There's nothing. So he couldn't, without accepting the mood and the position of a devotee of himself, then he could experience her love. So there were three parts. What is that love that Radha has for me? I want to experience that. I want to experience the happiness that she feels in her love for me. And the third, this is right in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the qualities that she sees in me that stimulate her love. There's a science of rasa that's in Lord Chaitanya's teachings, and there's one of the terms in the science of rasa called udipana, the stimulations of love. They're like, when Krishna plays upon his flute, that's in a stimulation of love for those who hear Krishna flute. Or the other way, when Radha gives her sidelong glance, and Krishna sees her sidelong glance, it stimulates his love for her. It's loving exchange. And sometimes he gives a sidelong glance while he's dancing on the hoods of the Kaliya serpents. He wants to make sure that the young gopis are noticed as the best of all dancers. And there's this little esoteric. There's a description in a commentary written by one of our Goswamis, one of the followers of Lord Chaitanya, named Sanatan Goswami, and he wrote that when Krishna was dancing on the hoods of the Kaliya serpent and he was smiling at the gopis, it was a sign. Later, you and I will also dance, rasa dance, on the hoods of the Kaliya serpent. Won't that be nice? He didn't say, but that they understood. Sometimes people that have love for one another, you don't have to say, you understand, just like you and your son. And he's your kid brother, right? It's okay. He'll grow up and start become cranky or whatever else goes on. Who knows? So when there's love, there may not be words spoken, but there's loving exchange in different features. So this is who is Lord Chaitanya. And I want to bring this to a close because you've been such a fantastic audience. There's nothing on the screen, no pictures, nothing. Long ago, I was making a presentation in New Vrindavan. This is one of our farm communities in West Virginia. And it was a really simple talk on something. And of course, but I was new at the whole thing, and the person who was assisting was also new at the whole thing. And the images didn't show up properly. It was like chaos. But I spent some time saying, words, a picture speaks 1,000 words, and it's important in education that there's a visual connection along with the auditory connection. So I'm not doing that this evening. It's just auditory, but that's okay. So I normally like pictures, but so if there's one, there's a beautiful painting of Krishna and it becomes Radharani. And then Radharani becomes Krishna. And it keeps going back and forth as long as you're mesmerized by the technology of it. So Lord Chaitanya wanted to experience the love of Radha, the happiness that she experienced in her love, and the qualities in Krishna that stimulate her love for him. That's the subject regarding the object in a mood of love. So those 3 external, 3 internal reasons. And he broadly, within India, wanted that persons become happy instead of covered and confused, as is the condition of the age of Kali, and relieved of their suffering and awakened to their natural happiness of love for the Supreme, divine love. There's nice songs about it, but to do it, to experience it, that's very special. And he wanted. Then so in the final sections of Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are descriptions. We discussed this a little bit on the appearance day and Gaur Purnima day, but he entered so deeply into the moods of the love of Radha, specifically in the mood of Radha feeling separation from Krishna after their childhood pastimes together, or the Vrindavan pastimes. Krishna left. And they were sad, worse than sad. and pining, aspiring, when will that day come? And remember, the pacification to some degree was remembering their loving dealings together, but then that also increased the idea for aspiration for meeting. So he went through those, Lord Chaitanya went through those same emotions of Radha feeling separation from Krishna when he was living in Jagannath Puri. Mad, literally mad, crazy kind of mad, not angry kind of mad. And so in the dead of night, he had two principal associates, Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy, without details about who they were. They were his companions, and they knew everything about his emotion, his activities, his madness, his states of love, his fainting in ecstasy, reviving him. And, all of that was documented in a diary that Swarup Damodar kept. And then the diary is handed to one of the trainees of Swarup Damodar, and later, so it became the subject matter of this biography, and it's out of this world. These descriptions, the intensity and the degree, the love of Radha for Krishna, not in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life. It's like, wow. So he that was only in the association of most confidential persons. He discussed those topics and he exhibited those emotions and behaviors in intimate ways. For others that weren't so spiritually elevated yet, he just simply gave the common activities of chanting and the importance of reading. I'm going to tell a little Lord Chaitanya story. One time, Lord Chaitanya was traveling in South India with the ostensible purpose of looking for, he had an elder brother who and when he was a little bit older than Mahaprabhu, he's accepted sannyas. So he went looking for him. So he was traveling because he heard he had gone to South India. So, South India, that's a big place. How do you find somebody in South India? But he went. That was the external reason. And one of the places he came to was Sri Rangam. And he stayed in Sri Rangam for the 4 months of the rainy season. And one of the things that happened was there was an illiterate Brahmana, which is a contradiction. But he couldn't read and write. But very near to the temple, he was seen regularly, daily, sitting, reading Bhagavad Gita upside down because he couldn't read. And he was crying. So several times he passed by and saw this fellow reading Bhagavad Gita and asked my dear Brahmin friend, tell me what it is that you're reading that makes you cry like this. And the Brahmin man said, please don't tease me. It's not nice. I can see you're a cultured Brahmin. You shouldn't tease me like this. He said, I'm not teasing. I see you crying. I'm just asking why. And the man was shy and was embarrassed. And he said, well, I'm reading Bhagavad Gita daily because my spiritual master ordered me to read Bhagavad Gita daily. But the problem is, I don't know how to read. I'm illiterate. Okay, then what's causing you to cry? If you're illiterate and you're reading Bhagavad Gita. And I can't read it, but I see the picture on the cover and I see the picture of Krishna, the supreme person driving the chariot of Arjuna, according to the command of the person who he's driving. And the compassion and the love between Krishna and Arjuna makes me cry. I can't help it. Just tears come to my eyes when I think of that love that they have for each other. And Lord Chaitanya said, "You're the true scholar of Bhagavad Gita." Now, doesn't mean become illiterate, or doesn't mean hold the Bhagavad Gita upside down or something. Imitate. But the essence is the essence, and the form is not the essence. The form helps us by reading Bhagavad Gita right side up in a language that you're familiar with, like the Bhagavad Gita that Prabhupada translated from Sanskrit to English, has subsequently been translated into as many languages as there are. And BBT's, Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, and so many languages. So pick your language, or someone you know in some far out place, Swahili, or, whatever the language is. They have Bhagavad Gita in those languages. What to speak of, the languages of India. But in all literally all over the world, in different dialects of those languages. So, reading, this is the third topic, the importance of reading Prabhupada's books. Because in Prabhupada's books, just like these few descriptions from Chaitanya Charitamrita, he made that available, because I don't read Bengali. And, so how would I get these teachings and the life of Lord Chaitanya in English, please? So he did. And then translated into many languages, so that people all over the world could find out who is Lord Chaitanya. I'm going to say one final thing, along with the importance of reading Prabhupada's books. Two things. One of those two things is Prabhupada's spiritual master was Bhaktisiddhanta. I'm going up in the air now. And his father was also one of our great acharyas named Bhaktivinoda. And Bhaktivinoda, in the English language, in the year 1896, he wrote in the English language a little skinny book, about 82 pages with offset printing, because I've seen a copy of the original. Offset printing meant, the letters are not straight. It's not modern technology. But, and in English, in his own writing in English, because he was trilingual at least, and the life of Lord Chaitanya and the teachings of Lord Chaitanya in the English language, and out of his own pocket, his own expense, he sent to universities, libraries, all around the world, because it was his expression that at least educated people should know who is Lord Chaitanya. Because they don't know, and they should know. At least educated people should know. And that year, 1896, happened to be the very same year that Srila Prabhupada was born, 1896. How auspicious. Nice year, 1896. Some other things happened that year too. But the idea was Lord Chaitanya's message should be heard all around the world. And the second and final point I wanted to make is, the life was a mini summary of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then the second half was the life in precepts. So the precepts, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was such a literary man. He had 10 children. He was a high court judge during the British rule, which was no. They wanted to have their people in those positions, because a high court judge wasn't only a man that sat on the bench. He had authority. And without all the details, he had authority, and he used it wisely without all the details. So he's busy. He's got a lot of people that want his time and attention. He wrote 100 books. Anyone here write a book? Anyone here yet write a book. You're working on one. 100 of those with 10 children and a high court judge. I mean, he was a powerhouse. And of those 100 books, because I studied his life to some extent, and something like 86 of those 100 books all had the precepts of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he had it like in a very simple code. And I was thinking at the end of this program, I'd like to go to my lovely little computer and extract those precepts of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, put in a little PDF file, and give it to Bangsidhari and let Bangsidhari circulate the 10 essential teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And one of those 10 is a living entity can achieve perfection through the chanting of the holy name. Yuga Dharma is one of the 10. There's others. Very interesting, succinct. So he wanted for people in general and spiritually elevated persons as his eternal associates in confidential ways. He displayed the love of Radha for Krishna in the mood of loving separation. And that was one of the main, not only there's a nice prayer. There's many nice prayers. One nice prayer, Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaura Trishe Namaha, spoken by Rupa Goswami about Lord Chaitanya. But he not only gave Krishna Prema, but he gave Krishna Prema in the mood of Radha. That is, in the mood of love in separation, which intensifies love. When you have love, and then there's absence of the beloved, intensifies love. I mean, not too long, please, but it intensifies love. One thinks more about the beloved in their absence. One has feelings of love more intense in their absence. Just like it just happened. You know, it's been some of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada left this world recently. One of those was a GBC member, a governing body commission member. Name was Badrinarayan Swami, and I had the association of one of the devotees from the San Diego temple, which was his headquarters, and they just experienced Lord Chaitanya's appearance day without Badrinarayan Swami. And everyone was feeling the same. It's like hollow. It's in Lord Chaitanya's teachings. You feel all vacant in this world in his absence. That's how Lord Chaitanya felt in love of Radha. The world is vacant without Krishna. That's the love of Radha. And it's experienced here in partial, someone you're very attached to, and they're gone. Or, someone here, your parents or somebody they're gone. And there's grief. There's a very intense emotion. It's quite human, quite normal. What to speak of spiritual emotion? And he had it. And he distributed it. It was infectious. And because it's an eternal relationship with living entities in the Supreme, and he gave that to everyone. And the primary medium to begin that affinity is this little machine here. Little girl and her sister with the microphone hand, singing the holy name. So, and one can do in that way, and one can do in this way. This chanting on beats. Many you've seen many paintings of great acharyas or sadhus or something. They commonly have beads. Sometimes they're larger, sometimes smaller string of beads. And we have our standard. But having beads doesn't make you a sadhu. have absorption, and that sound vibration over time can elevate, cleanse, and awaken. Two things. And to the state where one is literally pure and one is awake. And awake means, affinity, further attachment, further prema, and priti, with great affection in that condition of love for the eternal object of the eternal soul, to the eternal supreme, by the medium of chanting. So we like chanting. Now, this young lady over here, I'm staying. Shatarupa, I'm staying at her home and his home with the all the technology wires all over the place over here, Vangsidari. And what commonly, when we end programs like this, she's at the harmonium. I don't know how it's going to work tonight because you came in the car with us. So somebody will take you home. She sings. And then the other young devotees, this young fellow and that young fellow, they, they're in a little circle in here, and you'll see if they do it tonight. It's really nice. It's really nice. It's more than really nice. It's transcendentally elevating. After hearing topics about Lord Chaitanya and the importance of Prabhupada's books and the importance of chanting of the holy name, to chant together the holy name, it's really nice. It's so nice that in each of I travel every now and then. In each place I go to, if there isn't somebody that's already doing that, I ask, if I find out my radar, who's the kirtan person here, and then I ask them at the end of class, softly over in the corner, bring your friends and have a little just sedate kirtan, and it spiritualizes the atmosphere. It's the Yoga Dharma. It's the means of spiritual perfection, purification, perfection. It's effective. Doesn't matter how hard one's heart is. The universe, in all cultures of the world, music is really important. They have different styles and but it's an essential part of culture. And spiritual culture, essential part of spiritual culture is not just the musicality, but the name and singing the name. All traditions of the world have something. And this is the expression that comes from Lord Chaitanya. That's why, that the reason why he's behind what we're doing. And we're happy to be with him and have him with us and chant the holy name together. So we'll do that at the end. You'll find a ride. Okay. Any comments or questions? Yes, our hostess.
Why?
This is for people that are listening online.
Oh, okay.
You're online.
Oh. Thanks for telling me. Why do you need beads to chant?
You don't. You can chant without beads.
Okay. Because I like to chant, like when I drive,
Okay.
I try to do it. Sometimes with the traffic, it's hard to do the beats.
Yeah.
So I try to go to YouTube videos and just follow with Prabhupada.
Fantastic. So here's a different question. Since you don't need beads, why do you have beads?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you have?
You're one of those persons that when you're speaking, you're waving the microphone, doing hand gestures. So hold the.
Or I can hold it for you.
No, I do use a lot of hand gestures like while I talk. So
Okay, you can use your other hand. He can hold whatever you works. It's just hard to hear you when you're. Okay. There's a purpose. This is the why. Three whys. One, tactile connected with auditory helps hearing. The more that you engage your senses in the same activity, the mind becomes more concentrated. At least the opportunity is there. So second, there's a value in keeping track of how many mantras I chant. It's not like if you don't keep track of how many mantras you chant, you're in the doghouse, or it's not effective or something. That's not the case. But if you have I have a life mission. What's that? I want to become closer to Krishna. Fantastic. And numerical chanting has some strength to it. So every day, for 50 something years, 55, 57 years, same beats, same hand, same mantra, same ears, staying fixed and counting the number of, not the number, but minimum this much. So I could do it with time, or I don't have to do, there's not a rule, but it just helps.
Okay.
A commitment between me and Krishna. Mm-hmm. This is my commitment. This many. There's reasons for the number, but I won't go into it. There's how many names and one lack of names and et cetera, et cetera.
Another follow-up question is, why 16 rounds? I kind of know the answer because Ratna Mataji and Anjanay Prabhuji, he told me a little bit, but I want to know why from you.
Okay. It's not critical. Just like your first question, do you have to chant with beads? No. And when you're driving, it's not a good idea to even try to use beads while driving.
So far, I've been successful, but I don't want to continue.
Yeah, we would hate to see a crash. So, the esoteric reason is when to a certain number of rounds. And I'm sure there are devotees that are very into numbers, and I'm not one of those devotees. But one lack of names equals something like 64 rounds, and 1/4 of those 64 rounds is 16 rounds. So it's a minimum because it's what many people that are into a practice of every day some spiritual commitment to Krishna, it's doable even with busy lives. So I'm sure you have a busy life, as do most of us in the room have a busy life. But that's, it's a good minimum. No, supposing somebody can't do the good minimum, that's okay. What, the importance is supposing one's just beginning, then pick some amount of time or the number of rounds, whatever that is. And you do that. Like this podcast interviewer, she said, I chant 1 round a day. She has got viewers all over the world. 1 round a day. Fantastic. Every day. Yeah, every day. For a few years, 1 round every day. Fantastic. So why 16? That's your question. No, it's a minimum that many people who are very serious in their spiritual practice, they can maintain. And once you increase, try to keep it at that every day. Like your son. Did you brush your teeth?
He does, yeah.
Yeah. But every day. Not sometimes. Every day. brush your teeth every day, take a bath every day, certain things you do every day. So that's one of those inside cleansing things every day. So whatever the number is, that's the number. And then maintain it every day. And consider if it's possible to that incrementally increase a little. I tell a little story, personal story. Once upon a time, I was a college kid. Seems like a few lifetimes ago. And many things happened, and I, and I got introduced to chanting. Many things happened before that, and before that, I was practicing Zen Buddhism. And we had a little Zendo in the house. And I was told at the Zen ashram, Brahma Muhurta. So before the sun rises for 2 hours. So there we were, college kids, getting up before the sun rises and doing zazen for 2 hours. So then I without all the history, I decided that that's temporary, because while it did this, it's quickly faded. It kind of became blurry again. The focus was lost. It was effective, but not natural. Because natural is you do stuff every day, and it doesn't fit. You have to stop doing stuff every day. And I'm not, it's not life. So I put that on in a parking lot and moved on to mantra meditation, et cetera, and of them. So chanting Hare Krishna. So I'm chanting 4 rounds a day. This is the anecdote. So I decided, I keep hearing this number 16, and I'm doing 4. So let me try. That was a big jump from 4 to 16. Big. But let me try. So here's what happened. I found that it took me 2 hours to chant 16 rounds. And by chanting 16 rounds in the Brahma Muhurta hours, I got energized so much that I required 2 hours less of sleep. I was sleeping 8 hours, and then it became 6 hours, just because I was energized. And then with that energized to have 2 extra hours, then I had time to read Bhagavad Gita. That was pretty good. It wasn't a plan. It's just that's what happened. And then a little light went on. Now 16 is a good number. That's me. And somebody else, maybe something else. That's fine. 1 round a day for 3 years. The podcast. Jennifer. Fine. Every day. Something. Between you and Krishna. Something. With or without beats. Okay. And then think, as time passes, is it realistic for me to let that incrementally increase to something? I didn't suggest it to Jennifer because we didn't know each other. Just met for the first time. But she knows a few, she interviewed Jivana back here. She mentioned your name several times during the podcast. Oh, she did. Complimentary. And she mentioned of your wife, too. She likes you both. But she mentioned your name several times. They're teaching, she said. Okay. More? Okay. Behind you.
Guru Maharaj, I feel moved to share an experience from today. I didn't watch your podcast because at the same time on Thursdays I participate in a NVC training, and it's a year-long training that has a cohort of international participants. And one of them, his name is Mehdi, and he lives in Iran. So currently the internet is shut down in Iran.
Really?
And he drove to the Iraq-Iran border today to participate in our training.
Shoo.
And in the last 1 week, he has lost several family and friends. but his wife and children are still alive and his home is still there. But by that time, 10:30 here, it was already night in Iran. And he said the air raids are more aggressive in the night. So he was sharing with us that he's not sure if he's going to survive tonight or if his children, who are same age as mine, are going to survive tonight. So it was really, brought me face to face with the fragility of our human existence. And on the other side, even at my stage, how palpable the shelter that we are being provided is, that stark contrast, even at, this kind of an imperfect practice. And the urgency of really calling out to the holy name, because all these plans I have, we have a family vacation plan in the next few months, and, there's soccer and driving lessons for the kids. And here's a man who's sharing with us, he doesn't know if tonight he will survive. We don't know if our next session he's going to be there. So just so much gratitude for what we are being given in this fastly degrading Kali Yuga.
I had a similar exchange with somebody from Abu Dhabi, and he was describing he's going to leave with his family because, the debris from a bomb that exploded nearby fell into his house. And he has a wife and 2 kids. And, he wants to protect his wife and 2 kids. And so he explained this evening, they're moving. The house will still be there, presumably. It's not blown up. But, fragility for sure. And he has a plan, and let's see if Krishna permits his plan. There's an airport that he's going to go to, and he's going to fly to someplace and settle his family in Chennai, and then go live his life for a little while, see what happens. Very temporary. Okay, something a little less sober. Yeah. You're on.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I'm clear on Lord appears for punishing the miscreant and saving the devotees. And in the Bhagavad Gita verse, he says, whenever the dharma falls, he comes to re-establish. So dharma is very broad. Does Lord is talking about Vedic dharma or administrative dharma or spiritual dharma? Which
Paradharma. Primarily paradharma, because the secondary lead to the primary. If done properly. The difficulty is, in this age, people don't do the secondary properly, so it's not going to lead to the primary. And therefore, the answer to your question is specific to Lord Chaitanya. It's the primary. And the primary is devotional service. Primary is devotional service, and that's the Mahamantra as the primary means. Like, for example, yajna. People do all kinds of yagas for all kinds of purposes. Om Jagadisha Hare. And they, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's Vedic. And it works. But it's not paradharma. It's dharma. Then there's adharma. Anyway, so it's for Lord Chaitanya's purpose is paradharma.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. You have something? No. Okay. Okay. Well, you've been a fantastic audience, and I didn't have any pictures. You still stayed. And maybe your son will come back down when it's time for prasadam. Okay. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.